Parasyte the Maxim, episode 23, Life and Vows. Now, hopefully that's the right number for this episode, because the last time I watched this on my actual TV, it gave me, the completely wrong number, and because I can't check, because the internet sucks here right now, I may or may not have just said the wrong episode number, but I believe it's the right one. I do believe we actually have 24 episodes, so hopefully that's accurate, but I like this one. It was a pretty simple episode, to be totally honest. I mean, it was a weird episode because it had huge moments, of course, but honestly, this episode felt like it was just talking for and it was, honestly. I think 98% of this episode was seriously talking, but I didn't mind that. We have the opening scene where, of course, Shinichi's by himself. He doesn't have Migi anymore, and we have Gotou, who's in this crazy super mega form, which was just nuts, and he's in this weird crouched position. I don't know why, but every time I saw him like that, I thought of Bowser from Mario, just because he's tiny. I thought old 8-bit Mario, because he's tiny, but he's got the spikes and stuff. Not a clue why. He's not green, but excuse me. For that reason, in my head, I'd be that makes me think of Bowser for some reason. But Shinichi, of course, goes up at him. It's I can get up close to him because I don't have Migi. He can't sense Migi. Goes for the attack, which I thought was interesting. The first thing I thought was the only reason Gotou, the little eye popped out, was because Shinichi still had enough of Migi inside of him where Gotou would be able to sense that malicious intent. I figured that's the only reason that could have happened, and I'm still going with that. I mean, it was proven that there was, Migi inside of him even in the last episode, and I knew that Migi was going to come back in this one because last time I watched it was on Hulu, so they always have the little clip. And of course the clip they show is a full version of Migi. I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. It spoils it a little, but I figured that would happen anyway, so it wasn't that big of a, it wasn't that bad of a spoiler, because I was like, well, Migi's coming back. They even do it at the end of the episode where, he lost Migi, so it's well, not too crazy to expect that. But the way that it happened is what really surprised me. I thought that Migi was, my whole guess was oh, Migi's going to reform a little bit. And I think I mentioned that maybe it is possible that Migi was at least somewhat inside of Gotou. But my main thing was oh, Migi's just going to reform out of Shinichi to get, stronger and stronger. And I had a whole giant theory where the 30% from Migi will form again as the full arm. And then it would change Shinichi back a little bit. And Migi would be the old version of Migi. All this extra stuff. And ultimately it was just no, a little bit of Migi came out and did a crazy, some DBZ style blocking, because I don't know where all that lightning stuff was coming from, but it was a cool little scene. And so, Shinichi, first off, Shinichi did a great job even surviving, because he failed with the knife, he gets thrown against a tree, he's, tossed on the garbage and stuff, and all he does, he grabs this little pipe that's covered in something nitrate, some form of nitrate. And he remembers when Gotou's I'm feeling weak anyway or whatever, and he remembers Reiko and how she mentions oh, he's really one of the more fragile ones of us. And I thought that was cool, and it was he remembered that moment with the 2 bullets, he stabs the pipe in, kicks it in even, and he's about to get taken down, and this little sliver of Migi pops right out, lightning and all this craziness. All of Migi comes right out of his body. I was that is really freaking cool, because I had all this stuff about a new version of Migi, how is that going to play out and stuff, and instead he took Migi, which personally I thought was a stupid idea on his part in general, even though of course it's kind of a 5-to-1 deal. It's well, of course he could control Migi, but I thought that was really cool. It's that is awesome, because I really thought it was going to be that Migi reformed, just in general, just reformed, or reformed. I'm saying reformed like a drug addict, but reformed, just from the cells within Shinichi's body. But I like the way they did it, and then it was pretty easy after that. It just happened to be yeah, surprisingly, that random piece of trash pipe was actually very useful, deadly useful, in fact, against parasites. So all of these organs and stuff, and then that helped, but of course Migi being on the inside, just chopping up a bunch of organs on the way out, which is just really cool to even have that. It has the body kind of boiling and stuff, and it the back explodes and things, and Migi goes in, with a ninja strike, and just boom, with all the stress that was happening within the body and keeping it so, the struggle that Gotou was going through to keep everything just so tightly packed together, that was ultimately his downfall, and it was just, you know, a clean strike, and it all, you know, it made it easier for Migi to actually split through his neck. And then for whatever reason, even though they explained, I was like, I still don't see how that just like blew up the whole body, but I thought that was actually kind of cool. And then, you know, of course, Shinichi's crying and stuff when Migi first returns and everything, which was a great moment. I was happy to see it, and then at the same time, of course, I was super surprised by the way that it happened, where it was just tiny little block, and it just sapped right out of him. So it was very cool, and you know, they're walking away. It's like, you know, we finally beat him, and basically we have one episode left, which I can't wait to see. And it was just like, wow, that was pretty much it. And then we find out that he's actually reviving, and then they have the craziest moment, which I never would have expected from this show. But despite everything that's happened, we have, for one, of course, we have a very different Migi, because Migi's like, oh, well, I won't do it because Gotou is one of my own kind, so it's you, you know, your kind puts it, that would be murder, so I'll let you do it. Oh, it's, you know, I guess Migi doesn't get the concept that murder is murder despite the species, which I thought was kind of funny a little bit, but it's like, I'll let you do it. And then, even after everything they've gone through, Shinichi had a moment where he's like, maybe it's not my, you know, right to decide and stuff like that. I was like, I understand where he's coming from, and they have this crazy existential thing with Earth, and Migi talking about people doing things for planet Earth, and, you know, electric cars and saving power and stuff like that. And it's like they have this, you know, crazy conversation, and I'm like, I understand that worldwide concept of human, you know, just human processing for what we do and don't do to save the planet, or, you know, not give a crap about the planet. I understand that, and not taking someone else's fate or something else's fate into your own hands. But this is just one of the most, like, the destructive thing he's ever faced in his entire life. And he's like, I'll let fate decide. I was like, okay. I mean, I understand how he got to that, but that still seems like the stupidest thing that could have possibly happened. And I guess they could see, because they, you know, they show us, and I guess he could tell from that, like, oh, you aren't going to reform, you know, with enough conscience to even really exist in the same way. So I'll just, basically what he did was almost like, oh, I'll put you out of your misery type of kill. And I'm like, you know, of course it's good that that happened. At least it happened that way. But just the fact that he decided, like, oh, well, you know, is it really my decision to decide what lives and dies? I'm like, that, when it's something innocent, you do that, not when it's the 5-in-1 parasite that's been just wiping everybody out, killing anyone and everyone in its way, and is like the last crucial, you know, parasite that they're going to be going up against, at least in the series, I'm sure. I don't know if it expands beyond that in the manga, because I know the manga's complete, it's been completed for a while, so I don't know if this is like truly the end, which makes sense because I'm pretty sure the manga ended way before the anime ever got announced, so I'm pretty sure this is like the full story of the actual manga series. But I was still just like, that's crazy to me. It's like, how in the world did he get to that moment to decide, like, maybe I should just instantly go at it and kill it, even though whole episode that's all he was literally doing was trying to take it into his own hands, because of the fact that Gotou is taking other lives into his own hands and just wiping out a ton of humans. And yet he came to that conclusion, like, maybe I shouldn't, which I still think is dumb, but ultimately they kill off Gotou. So I was like, that's totally fine. I'm glad that happened, because otherwise they'd have this crazy super monster after them, and that's bad. I mean, I don't know why I even bothered to explain that. That's just freaking bad. We've seen why that's bad. But despite 98% talking, I did enjoy this episode. I liked, of course, the fact that Migi is now reconnected with Shinichi. Probably the best part, because it happened in a completely different way than I was expecting. I'm sure a ton of people had that theory that, you know, that's how it worked out. It's like, it's either one of two ways. Like, either Migi's going to simply reform from the cells within Shinichi, or Migi would be taken from Gotou. And for me, my thought process was, why would he need Migi? Like, what would even be the point of that when it's like, you know, and, you know, not even the full parasite. It's like 70% of a parasite that wasn't even a head. I mean, I guess that doesn't matter because they all turn into blades, so that doesn't mean anything. But, you know, it's just like, for me, I didn't see why you would even need to bother with that type of thing. But that was its downfall. It's like, well, just gather some more in here, take control of it, have another little tendril to flick around. Maybe if he was nude, he'd, turn another thing into a blade. But I don't know. I thought it was like, it was surprising that that was how it went, for me at least, because I thought Gojo is so freaking powerful. Just keep the 5 that he's got, and there's no really no need for anything else. But I guess that was slightly a part of it, is the fact that they still had some of those weak points, even though they clearly didn't block it, even with the extra Migi support. Still, the exact same spot got destroyed, by this little pipe covered in like sodium nitrate or whatever. But I still enjoyed this episode. Great to see Shinichi and Migi back. Very cool that it's the same Migi. I'm actually glad I was wrong with my theory, and that it was kind of. I'm glad that it was the simple answer, to be totally honest, because the different version of Migi and all that stuff was super extra, even though that would have been really cool, because that would be the unexpected thing. But also, I don't mind, these are really the only 2 main characters anyway, so it's not like we have that many characters to root for in this show, and we will have other important characters, but they're the only 2 good characters that really fight. So it's kind of just like, I'm fine with that version of Migi coming right back. Everything's basically the same, and we'll just have to see what happens, for this last episode. But I really enjoyed it. Of course, want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And of course, in the next episode, I believe it's the very next episode, is going to be the last episode. Once again, of course, if my episodes were off, then we have 2 more episodes to go. But either way, we've got some crazy stuff coming up. And with Gotou gone, I don't know if they're going to be fighting other parasites, or they're just going to be trying to figure out how to, coexist with parasites. But I definitely want to know, where can they go from here? Like, they've defeated the main enemy. Reiko was the enemy. They got rid of her. They might bring, I don't know if this would happen, but I guess technically they could bring the serial killer guy back, but he's on the run, so I don't know why he'd even be in town, or why he'd give a crap about Shinichi and Migi and, taking them down or anything like that. So I don't think we might see him in the finale, just because it's the finale. They always do that for anime. Like, here's every character that showed up. But I don't think he'll be too important. But I definitely want to know your speculations for where they can go now that they've defeated kind of their main villains. We, of course, still have parasites in the world, but they've defeated their main villains. So I want to know where you guys think they're going next. And, of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.